The invention of the GPU, as Tim was saying earlier, the invention of the GPU, the invention of programmable shaders, has taken computer graphics to just an amazing level. The technology is just really quite amazing today. And notice just the amazing beauty that you see. It's so realistic. Tim and I were up here talking just now, and frankly, we believe that in the next couple of years, we're going to leap across the uncanny valley. That it's possible for us now to recreate humanity, recreate human characters in a way that is not only realistic, but utterly attractive. And so this is quite an amazing time with computer graphics. But there's another revolution that's happening. There's another revolution that's happening. And it's really, really a big deal. Just as we invented programmable shaders and GPUs and it's enabled this level of computer graphics and realism, there's another revolution that's happening, and it's revolution of displays. Resolution of displays is going up. The color depth of displays is going up with high dynamic range. Displays can now be curved. Displays could be put into a dome. There's all kinds of display technology that's happening. HMDs, VR HMDs, and also all kinds of other displays, whether it's lenticular displays, whether it's light field displays, holographic displays. There's all kinds of display revolution that's happening. Augmented reality, VR, all kinds of stuff. And what is in common with all of them is the ability, the need to be able to multi-project a particular scene into all kinds of displays, into all of its displays, and to project a particular object into multiple eyes at the same time, into stereoscopic at the same time. The ability to project one scene into multiple monitors is just not the way 3D graphics was designed. The way 3D graphics works today, you have a 3D world, this virtual world, the 3D world, and we see it in a perspective view projected through a viewport that ultimately represents our canvas, our monitor. And so we see a 3D world, it gets projected in a perspective way through a viewport, and we see the object. And we see the object in 3D. But in the final analysis, what you're looking at is a 2D image. It's just a moving 2D image. And that 2D image is so beautiful, and it's behaving in such a realistic way that it appears to be 3D. It's mathematically in 3D, it's projected into a 2D display. Well, this has some limitations because this particular pipeline really can only handle one viewport at a time. And so what we've done is we've created a whole new part of our system. We call it the simultaneous multi-projection pipeline. Now what we're doing from now on, our GPUs will be able to simultaneously project the 3D world through 16 independent viewports that can be controlled independently. 16 viewports with independent projections from 3D to 2D, and then composite it in a way that you desire so that we can enjoy it in all kinds of interesting display technologies. Okay? So simultaneous multi-projection. Not only is it 16 independent, it could be projected into stereo simultaneously, all in one pass. Now there's an alternative to doing this. There's an alternative to doing this. We can actually render each one of the viewports independently. So that's one obvious way of doing it. We could render stereo one at a time and therefore lose half of the performance or require twice the number of GPUs to do so. Okay? And we do that on a regular basis today. However, with this new system, whatever is rendered in the world can now be projected into 16 independent viewports which can be controlled independently, and we can also simultaneously project it into stereo. So the question is, what can we do with that? The question is, what can we do with that? Let's take a look at the first application. So the first application is this. So let me before I show you, this is what, notice, this is, you see the viewport that's surrounded by the green lines, the 3D world, the virtual world, okay, the mathematical three-dimensional world are the 3D objects up on top. And you're looking at it through this viewport and it's transforming it through this viewport in a perspective correct way to the camera. This is a virtual camera, and conceptually that's where you're sitting. Conceptually, that's where you're sitting. And so now you're looking at the world through this viewport, and that world is a 3D world. However, if you would like to, well, hey, Tom, can we do this? Can we move it around? Let's move that viewport around. Okay, so that's how it works. You're looking at a viewport. This is the, 3D Graphics 101. And basically every single GPU today, every single graphics pipeline today has one of those viewports. And because it makes perfect sense, because that viewport is basically our screen. Okay? Now, one of the things we like to do is we like to have a much larger field of view. We want to see a lot more. Okay? And so we buy a couple more monitors, and we have multi-monitors, and we now connect it into this view. Now, you sit at this multi-monitor. Now, the monitors, people who like to do this also enjoy large monitors. And so now you have a 32-inch monitor, 3 of them, and pretty soon, when you want to look left, you got to look over there. You got to look right, you got to look over there, and you can't see both sides of it. And the monitor spans basically your entire bedroom. And it's kind of not the point. What you really want to do is you want to have essentially a virtual surround system. You want to be able to have the graphics, the world wrap around you. And so let's do that, Tom. Let's wrap the displays around you. Now, notice now the displays are now wrapped around you. However, don't forget, the original perspective correct projection was done with the monitors that were flat. And now that you've warped the monitors around you, that monitor, the image that's projected on it is now wrong. And that's why when you guys enjoy World of Warcraft in that amazing 4K display, and you see your entire kingdom right in front of you, right? When you wrap that display around you, it looks warped. When you're driving a virtual driving simulator or you're racing and you have surround displays, all of the cars that go by are kind of distorted somehow, and it just looks terrible. Okay? The only thing that you're getting out of it is you're getting that, if you will, blur in your peripheral vision, and you get the sensation that you're in that world. However, everything is actually wrong in the 2 other displays. And so there's an answer for that. Using multi-projection technology, because we can project into each one of those viewports independently with independent projections, we can make it look right. Okay? Now, there's a solution for this today. Just buy 3 graphics cards. And in fact, that's what people do. You can buy 3 graphics cards, and if you can get the game to project it into each one of those displays correctly, you will have surround view. However, with GTX 1080, with Pascal, we can now do one single pass into 3 independent projections, and now you get surround graphics, surround view for free. And I can't imagine a better price than free. Unbelievable, okay? So, one benefit of multi-projection. Independent viewport projections, all done simultaneously, no performance degradation. Well, let's see this in action.
Okay, well, Jensen, the best way to really take a look at this is to take a look at it in an application. So what you're looking at here is a monitor that we've got in the back here, and it's exactly the traditional way you'd see the game on a single monitor. But Sean, if you can rotate to the right, slowly pan to the right. What you're seeing here, go ahead and stop right there. A little bit further to the right, sorry. This is the way games look today. And Jensen, what you can see is on the floor, there's that very clear...
So can I show you guys? Just stop for a second, Sean. So Tom, stop for a second, okay?
Sure.
Can I just show you? You see this right here? That right there? That looks wiki-wonky. That's a technical term for that's wrong. That's a technical term for that's wrong. That is clearly wiki-wonky. Okay, now the way to solve that, of course, this was originally projected into 3 panels that were all planar. And so the original projection is actually correct. And if you sat in the middle of that projection and you look out to that far corner, it actually looks correct. And it actually is correct. However, when you now bent the monitors inward so you can actually see it, the projection is no longer correct. And so, Tom, could you do this? Can you correct it?
Absolutely. So, Sean, give me some correction.
Dang, look at that. Look at that. Okay, so what you're now seeing is essentially out the window. It's almost like you're looking out a window. And this particular window is a display next to you. And let's go to, Tom, can you swipe me to the other side?
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, rotate the camera slowly to the left, and let's take a look at the gigantic virtual window into this world. It actually dramatically increases your field of view, and it's like you're in this plaza somewhere in Italy, right? It's really just fantastic.
And notice the tables aren't warped, the chairs aren't warped. Well, let's go back to the way it was.
Okay, turn it off, Sean. So that's
oh, no.
It's painful. It's painful.
Oh, no.
Please give me simultaneous multi-projection. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is using multi-projection of the same world now into two eyes. Okay? Now, when you're seeing something in stereo, of course, you see two different projections. Now, why this is really valuable, now, before I tell you why this is really valuable for us to do the independent viewport control, the way that you enjoy VR is you put a lens, because your eyes are so close to the display, you can't focus on it. And so you put a lens in front of it, you put a little lens, it's like a magnifying glass, and now you can enjoy the display that's literally an inch away from your eyes, and you could look at that display. However, as you know, all lenses have distortion. And so let's go ahead and put the lenses in. And so what you should see is this. You're projected into the front of the lens. When it comes out of the back of the lens, it's now distorted. And the way that we solve that problem is we pre-distort the image. We stretch it out all really far on the edges. We pre-distort the image. Then now when it goes into the lens, when you look at it, it actually looks right. The problem with that is that because we rendered all these stretched out pixels that we are never going to show, you never see it. We rendered it for nothing. We wasted a whole lot of performance. And you know that it is so difficult to achieve performance at all in the first place with VR. We're trying to achieve 90 frames per second, and it's so difficult to do so. And so as a result, we can't afford to waste any pixels. The way we solve that problem is this. Instead of those two projections that you see, we turn those two projections into 4 projections per eye. Then we orient those 4 projections in such a way, such that the image is distorted properly coming in. And we don't have to stretch it all out. So we distort effectively the viewport transform. And so now notice what's actually happening. The two viewports, the two projections, are now broken up into 4 projections each. And each one of the 4 projections are configured to be lens matched. We call that a lens match shading. And so as a result, the 2 projections became 8 projections, but they're all single pass anyhow. And they're configured so that it distorts the image properly. And now we render and shade and process each one of the pixels in the most conservative possible way. No waste whatsoever. To waste as little processing as possible. The flip side of not wasting is you get a huge boost in performance. And so it just depends on what experience we're talking about. It could be 40, 50, 60% boost in performance. And so here you are, you have GeForce GTX 1080. That's already way faster than a Titan X. And then now you get multi-projection through your stereo, and you get a huge boost on top of that. Well, as I mentioned earlier, not only do we get multi-projection on 16 different viewports, all configured independently, all in one pass, all done in the pipeline. We can also project to both eyes in stereo in one pass. We can also project in one pass. And so let's take a look at the implication of that. And so now you're looking at a particular experience. This is VR experience. And this is a very, very, very lovable monster. It has an enormous amount of geometric complexity. The more geometry you have, of course, the richer the character looks. The more geometry you have, the more lighting you have to do, the more shadowing you have to do. And so the amount of processing is actually quite significant. Remember, you're running this on a 1080. This is now the fastest GPU in the world. You're running on a 1080. And now, as you can see, there's a little bit of stuttering. Let's take a look at the frame rate counter, please. This is on a 1080 running about 60, 70 frames per second. Now, 60, 70 frames per second is really, really fantastic, but not in VR. When you're in VR and you want to see everything in 90 frames per second, 90 frames per second, so it's silky smooth, so that the latency is as short as possible, any stuttering really gives you a little bit, kicks you out of that sensation of virtual presence. And so you really can't afford to have any stuttering. Now let's turn on single pass stereo. Let's just enjoy this monster. Let's just enjoy the presence of this monster. She's so beautiful. Could be a he, could be a she. 96 frames per second, single pass stereo, unbelievable. All of this because of multi-projection. Ladies and gentlemen, simultaneous multi-projection.